Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Catherine Lynch from SAP. I'm Solution Marketing Director for the SAP Billing and Revenue Innovation Management solution. And I'd like to introduce our presenter today, Christina Giraud, who is a solution expert at SAP, managing SAP solutions for service monetization across multiple industries. Christina has an extensive experience in the telco space. She's been VP of Engineering and Operations at PrimVision SAS, a provider of mobile marketing solutions. And she has also managed projects for Texas Instruments Wireless and Ericsson mobile platforms. So today the topic of our webinar is monetizing M2M. And we expect the presentation to last about 35 to 40 minutes, and after that there will be a Q&A session. So we will try to answer all your questions live, but if we don't get through them all, we will follow up with you online. So thank you. I'll hand you over to Christina, and thank you everyone for attending today.
Thank you very much, Catherine, and good afternoon, everyone. So in this session, we'll be looking at the strategic market opportunity for telcos within M2M and what to think about in order to wisely monetize M2M. In terms of agenda, I was thinking to start with a quick look at the market and the drivers, and thereafter I'll make a special focus on 4 specific challenges that we see linked to M2M monetization and the related billing requirements. So at SAP, we have a very strong focus on M2M. As part of that focus, earlier this year, we launched an M2M Thought Leadership Center site in partnership with the Economist Intelligence Unit. And this site features research and opinion from SAP, EIU, and other partners, plus blogs and news. And one example is a study that we recently did with Informa, where we surveyed 250 M2M stakeholders across 50 countries, and about 40% of them being telco operators. And I mention this because this presentation will include some of these recent information and findings. So why do we believe in the M2M market and an immediate uptake? I mean, why now? Well, cheaper technology and smaller devices, they will drive uptake. We have sensors, microprocessors, and wireless technologies that have become quite affordable. For example, the cost of a standard fleet monitoring device is today around $100, and that has declined by almost half or more actually in the past few years. It's not the cost of a coffee yet, but hopefully soon. And also cloud computing and smartphones are driving adaptation. And much of what used to be whiteboard concepts can now actually be found in the field. Plus the fact that regulation is forcing uptake in some sectors like energy and automotive. For instance, we have eCall in Europe for automatic emergency calling from the car in case of crash. And in Brazil, they have the contract resolution, which is requiring all vehicles to be fitted with an anti-theft tracking device by next year. This is intended to reduce car theft and also lower car insurance rates. And in the UK, the government is requiring smart meters to be installed in all residences by 2020. So there we're talking about approximately 50 million meters. So what is then M2M really about? Well, M2M is connecting data, processes, devices, and people. But really, and as always, it's about the user experience, or it will be about the user experience. M2M, also called the Internet of Things, is probably the next revolutionary change in our daily life, connecting us all with our machines for home surveillance, smart energy consumption, e-health, connected cars and vending machines, what have you. But M2M services, they must align with the end user needs today and tomorrow. It should be affordable. It should be easy to use, facilitating the user's daily life in terms of economy, information, services. Some examples, for instance, being proactive service proposals, maybe based on consumption patterns, your location, device status report, or remote monitoring services built into the device that you buy. A quick look at the market forecast. I mean, clearly the market is promising real value, and it's an interesting complement to combat the declining traditional telco revenues. Values are still varying depending on the different sources, but Machina Research, for one, is forecasting the total M10 revenue to grow eightfold until 2020 to around $950 billion. And from the recent SAP Informa study, M10 is predicted to generate around $65 billion in operator revenue by 2015. And this would mean contributing to about 5% of the global operator revenue. So the market is promising, and M10 is definitely one of the future areas of telco growth. But what is interesting to notice is how operators see this opportunity. And in our recent study with Informa, when we asked the question to operators if they would succeed outside connectivity, most operators actually answered no. So it seems like the market is still more positive than the operators themselves. But there is definitely real value up for grab, and we will see gross margins up to 70%. We will see contracts, for instance, for smart metering that can be up to 10 years long, even if maybe the more average M10 contracts are more likely to be in the 3 to 5 years range. We will also see deals exceeding 500,000 endpoints, and in addition to this, M10 means solid customer lifetime value and low churn. But still, having said all that, end user value, market forecast, return on investment, still the M10 ARPU is different than what the telco industry is used to. It is less than the traditional telco subscription. And the expected ARPU is probably somewhere between $3 to $5 per month, depending on the industry vertical. But there will be variations for sure. E-health, for instance, will allow for more sophistication and added value over time. The biggest deals in terms of M10 endpoints, typically in smart metering, can yield ARPUs of around maybe 50 cents per SIM a month, and they need little bandwidth though. So for example, you take a smart meter device using a 2G network and sending small bursts of data to the utility company over the day. And the smallest deals in terms of volume, typically digital signage, can probably yield ARPUs exceeding $10 per SIM a month. And they do need broadband, however. So for example, one example of that could be devices that support telemedicine, and that includes video content. And they can probably generate revenues as much as 3 times higher than those without video in terms of connectivity revenues. So this lets us conclude on the first challenge, which is low ARPU. And this was noted as the number one concern by the CSPs in the Informa SAP study. So here the business needs and billing requirements are to support a low-cost model. You need modular solutions, pay as you grow. You need standardized and automated systems and reapplicable systems and solutions on all industry verticals. But the low ARPU is matched by volume, which at the same time is the second challenge for M10 monetization. So let's continue and have a look at this second challenge. So we have seen a tremendous mobile handset growth over the years. And today there are as many mobile handsets out there as there are people on Earth, around 7 billion. However, for the next years to come, we will see mobile handset growth flattening out. At the same time, many industries are introducing new and innovative services, expanding their value chain with partners, and they're now starting to address different customers than in the past. One of the major triggers of this change will be business opportunities brought about by the connectivity of devices and things around us. Not just our laptops, cell phones, and tablet devices are connected. Now our cars are starting to get connected, our home appliances and consumer electronics, they're all coming with internet connectivity built in. And across different industries, devices are also being connected. Smart grids in the utility sector, smart buildings with sensor for temperature, and you have oil and gas pipelines, they're all becoming part of the hyper-connected world. And this connectivity allows us all to innovate and create new services that leverage these connected devices and creating substantial new value and transforming the business models in the process. And GSMA is forecasting 24 billion devices by 2020. And out of those 24 billion, M2M will account for 50%, 12 billion devices. So having a quick look here at the regional M2M adaptation and growth, China will be, or is assumed to be in the lead by 2020. And they clearly have the subscriber volume to go after. However, their people adaptation rate is still slower compared to, for instance, Europe and North America. In terms of predicted M2M subs out of the total population, today Western Europe and US is around 5 to 10%, and we're predicted to reach 20 to 25% in 2016. China, they achieved 2% last year, and they're projected to reach 5% by 2016. And what is interesting is Scandinavia. They have from the beginning been the most advanced market for M2M communication. And over the last 4 years, the share of cellular M2M subscribers versus the total population in Scandinavia, in that region, increased from 6 to 22%. So there is definitely movement, and we start to see some interesting numbers. Operators, they already start to see some nice year-on-year growth. Berg Insight, they estimate that there was 10 largest telco operators by revenue had 68 million M2M subscribers at the end of last year, which is an increase of around 38% year on year. So in other words, around 3.4% of their total subscriber base was M2M devices. And as you can see here, China is showing great volume growth. The Chinese operators, they almost doubled their M2M subscriber base in 2011. And AT&T is actually standing out as the most advanced adopter, with M2M accounting for 1 in 8 mobile network connections. So this takes us to the second challenge, which is the massive scale of M2M. Many M2M deployments will be large, very large, and distributed real-time applications processing millions of transactions. And the volume of data that is being captured, correlated, processed, and stored will be a great challenge. Today, if we take all of us, we have a phone, and let's assume we're doing 20 events per day, call some data, and just multiply this with 10 devices, and already that provides for a whole new multitude of events to count and rate and build. And that's just the beginning. M2M services will have customers with very high number of connections, hundreds of thousands or millions. And therefore, telco billing systems must be scalable to support a massive number of microtransactions that are and will become typical for M2M services. An M2M billing system needs to be highly performant and have high availability. M2M deployments, due to scale and distribution, they will be fairly long-lived, and therefore requiring openness in terms of hardware, storage, applications, and networks. And we need to embrace modularity and integration and recognize that any network or IT component might someday have to be integrated with another. And CSPs should therefore enforce corporate standards and include interoperability in RFPs and system specs. The next challenge is linked to the M2M value chain. And we at SAP, we strongly believe in a future value shift and that the end user will drive that shift. M2M will drive much more value than just connectivity. And we will soon see the revenue distribution making a shift to what end users want to do with M2M. And therefore, the value offering will need to expand. We need to secure and manage M2M data. And we will see support of business decisions through M2M data intelligence, the use of information about customers' needs and consumption patterns to deliver profiled and tailored services and further strengthen customer loyalty. And there will be a need to identify and create new applications for M2M. And here it's interesting to look also at the Amazon experience as a platform innovator, opening up the possibility for value-added services to multiple customer groups through advanced B2B2B or B2B2C partnerships and more open platforms. Today, we're still in the early stages of end-to-end deployment, and most telcos are focused on generating revenues from network connectivity and roaming. And even if the end-to-end connectivity revenues will continue to grow, there will be much more value to capture by going up the value chain. As per Frost & Sullivan, telco operators, they believe that they will move from around 3% non-connectivity revenue out of the total end-to-end revenue in 2010 to 20% in 2017. But this is still not very optimistic numbers coming from the telco industry. However, we see and hear telco end-to-end leaders that forecast differently. As per the Informa study, once again, DT, for example, believes that the end-to-end market revenues are 85% connectivity related today, but they will decline over time to 15%. So telcos are and should be looking for additional services that they can build on top of the end-to-end connectivity. And end-to-end solutions, they will definitely evolve to address many types of business processes, customer services, and vertical market solutions. And this will open the door to additional end-to-end revenue streams for services like data mining, system integration, and managed services. So, what is needed to secure the success? Well, as per the Informa study, 4 out of 10 end-to-end stakeholders had a dedicated end-to-end investment budget prior to this year. And by the end of this year, that number will exceed 2/3. And the big decision is which solution components to own and control and which to externalize using trusted partners. So, what areas should end-to-end service providers then pay the most attention to? What is critical in order to be successful? Well, one of the areas that were recognized as key focus areas is actually partner management and flexible billing, as you see here. And also, interesting enough, few CSPs are so far prioritizing end-to-end data analysis. And here we see a true area for differentiation. So partnering and strategic alliances are key, we believe, to end-to-end success. And end-to-end will consist of a multitude of stakeholders and players. We will have providers of wireless end-to-end network services, and that includes both network operators, but also specialized communication providers. And there will be external development partners for integration. You will have app developers with special vertical competence or application-specific differentiation. There will be module and terminal vendors, possibly with end-to-end services pre-installed on the device, plus the specialized solution and or service providers with vertical expertise. And not to forget, of course, the resellers, global, regional, vertical, horizontal. So vertically focused partnership will be necessary for expertise in new markets. And telco operators will and are already forming end-to-end alliances and partnerships with other vendors that are focused in different verticals in order to establish credibility. And partnership and alliances, they will cut across device, application, and industry sectors. The end-to-end partnership setup means multi-sided revenue models, where businesses with, through, and on behalf of third parties is key to the success and a major part of the service monetization process. So, to conclude on the third business challenge, which is a new, evolving, and complex value chain, this was also identified as one of the top challenges by CSPs in our Informa study. And more specifically, the concerns that were raised were the unstable partner landscape, unproven business models, and charging and billing complexity. So it will be very important to foster, support, and sustain long-term and complex and varying partnerships through immediate billing, ensuring, of course, the multi-industry support, to have the capability to manage complex revenue sharing streams, multi-currency, global, etc., and analytics will be important. The consumer base and the consumer knowledge of CSPs is a true value add towards partners. You can differentiate and improve the user experience by smart decision making based on, for instance, predictive pricing simulations and consumer profiled contextual offers, etc. And then finally, the industry verticals. So to the right, you see a forecast about how end-to-end stakeholders see the different industry opportunities. These are all pretty obvious targets, such as automotive, transport and logistics, utility, smart buildings, e-health. And I would say that there is a fairly wide multi-industry focus at leading CSPs today, going after a multitude of parallel industry verticals. New trends and developments going forward are greater sophistication, where verticals like e-health has hardly started, and video content apps, like I mentioned before, will be driving probably very nice ARPU in that segment. Another focus is to industrialize rather than to customize, to find horizontal apps and build scale. We should look at commonalities and not the differences. Leverage investments. We should think more horizontal and replicate. One example is, for instance, tracking of people and assets on the move. Tracking of cars, automotive is very similar to tracking of individuals, for instance, for healthcare. All of this, of course, while still abstracting the real value vertically. Another trend is to look for killer apps and services cross-industry rather than specific industry focus. One example there is pay-as-you-drive insurance that touches transport, automotive, and financial services all at once. Another trend is to market B2B2C opportunities as a next step to the initial B2B2B focus. And here, for instance, an obvious target is, for instance, smart metering for utilities customers. And then last but not least, once again, to differentiate based upon smart analytics. We will see much more of that coming going forward, I believe. So looking at the revenue capture. So for MTM, what you're really selling is efficiency. And it is key to price the true value. And the true value lies in the information behind the data. So for instance, the value of cost distribution and route optimization is not necessarily equal to, for instance, airplane maintenance, or maybe it is actually in these days, depending on the industry and their needs. MTM will be different than today's traditional telco pricing, which is pretty based on pretty simple metrics like voice, minutes, and data volumes. But today, buying a data plan is still the most common MTM pricing model in use. And SLA-based, app-based, or revenue share models remain uncommon so far. Most CSPs are still MTM data wholesalers today. Only 1 in every 10 CSPs is actually actively running revenue sharing models with partners. And fewer than one in 10 offers service level or application-based pricing for MTM. So still early days, but more innovative and value-based business models are to come. And the key would be flexibility and agility in order to adapt and capture the vertical specific value. Because every M2M deal is unique. And finding the right business model is a difficult challenge. Traditional subscription models will not work for most consumer devices. And evolved models where users have basic online access at all times and then pay for access to premium services, they may extend to more device categories. And then we have prepaid subscriptions included in the price of the connected device. That's another model to attract users. And there is a lot of opportunity also for branded, co-branded, and white label propositions for connected devices. So with this, we have reached the fourth and final challenge, which is new business models. And we expect to see increased demand for billing systems that can charge based upon flexible pricing models, tiered data usage, data transmission times, time of the day, per session or per application, what have you. And end-to-end billing systems, they also need to be able to process both real-time and batch transactions to address the data access requirements for the different types of end-to-end services. And retail and wholesale price models will include even more complex partnership and global coverage. And all this is assuming convergence, of course, for your customers, not one bill per device or service. So in summary, the key is to be agile and ready to adapt to the unknown, exploring new business models and ensuring a rapid innovation phase and fast time to market. So to summarize, what is needed in order to secure end-to-end profitability? Well, number one, you need to support the volume and the cost. End-to-end means a massive amount of low-value transactions. And in order to be competitive, you need scale and high performance while keeping the operational expenditure low. And you need to ensure a low cost footprint of your billing solution and a simple operation. And of course, convergence, multi-service and multi-industry. One bill means faster collections and turnaround times on revenue. And two, you need to be ready to support a whole new set of business models. Adapt your pricing to the moving end-to-end landscape. The only thing we know today is that we don't know. Today's pricing models will evolve and change, and you need to be ready to think out of the box. So you need to look for an easy configurable and convergent solution. Configuring and testing new business models should be something your marketing department should be able to do. It should not be a heavy ISIT customization effort. And be fast to market. This will bring you ahead of your competition. And finally, changing value change. That's a certain. Partnering is key. You need to build and manage your ecosystem effectively. You need to bring the true value to the consumer, and you need to be ready to share that value transparently with your partners. And to do so, you need to support effective partner revenue sharing and settlements, plus deliver additional value to partners and customers through real-time intelligence and billing analytics, for example, to explore and monetize the end-to-end information and your consumer base and provide a competitive user experience. So this concludes my presentation, what I was planning to talk to you about today, and I believe that we will now open up for the Q&A session. So Catherine, maybe I...
Yes, thanks, Christina. Yes, we've had a few questions come in, so I will read them out. The first one is about the challenge of multi-sided business models and complex partnerships that you mentioned. What is your experience in terms of M2M so far of these models?
Okay. Well, it's clear that partnership is key, and like I said, it's going to span across multiple industry sectors, device types, and applications. And managing business partners is going to be critical for the platform owner. You need an easy and fast commercial partnering. When offering services, your partner onboarding and the contract management process must be really efficient. You need to have a highly automated and scalable service platform. And also your service modeling and launch needs to be rapid and flexible. You need to ensure fast time to market for your partners, rapid submission and approval processes, plus also easy access to secure development and testing environments. Also suppliers, they must have a structured setup for the partners to choose the service pricing model, either fixed fees or recurring fees, bundles, discounts, promotions, what have you. I can continue forever. I mean, of course, one favorite topic is once again analytics. We strongly believe that analytics capabilities is going to be key to process the data that you gather through the end-to-end services. Data itself is useless unless it's processed and the intelligence has been derived from it. And here CSPs can step up and take a valuable position. And the ones who don't, this value will probably be stolen away from them, from the platform owner very fast, because there is true value in there also for the partners. As the partners becomes more sophisticated, they will be looking for what's going on in order for them to profile their service provisioning even better. And of course, revenue and service assurance. I mean, you need to assure that the correct settlement for the services consumed is being done according to the commercial agreements. And also the platform provider sits in the middle of the whole money flow between all the different customers and partners, and he can take a really valuable positioning there in terms of managing credit risk for all parties. So, and then just to mention maybe one example from one M2M customer of ours who stated that one sensor reading for them could mean up to 7 different compensation readings to the different partners. So for sure, effective and transparent partner management is key.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Christina. Interesting that there can be up to 7 compensation partners involved in a single transaction. We have a second question, and that is, what is SAP doing overall in M2M, and what can you offer the different M2M players?
Okay, so that's more of a general question. Well, at SAP, at the core of M2M, we see 3 key elements: mobility, big data and analytics, plus the cloud. And these are matching extremely well with the SAP strategic innovation areas. So then these 3 main pillars of our M2M strategy are complemented by our large ecosystem of customers and partners, and of course our integration expertise, and then the monetization piece to it, the billing and revenue innovation management solution that is able to handle this new scale, supporting all the complex partnerships and business models. So these are all key components that are tying together an end-to-end solution, we believe. And also another challenge is the diversity in terms of industries and software solution, and that's another area where we believe we can help out. We have go-to-market support and software solutions in 24 different industries, and that helps us to understand the specific needs of those industries, and also including best practices, regulations and compliance, etc. So we're of course happy to talk more to any one of you about how we can help you overall also with your M2M business, should you be interested. Maybe that's something we could also continue via email. I would be happy to connect you with a bigger part of our offering.
Great, thanks, Christina. Another question's come in about the type of applications our billing solution is being used for. What kind of end user applications are being deployed currently using M2M technology?
Okay, so we're basically all over the place. I mean, we're working through all our different industries. So we have monitoring or billing of vending machines for also including the replenishment cycles. We're involved in electronic road tolling, of course, smart meters and roaming charges. And also telematics in vehicles is an area of interest. We also recently press released a cooperation with DT for logistics and smart harbors. And we're also very heavily involved on the mobility side with some of our partners. So that's a little bit more than just a billing solution, but we're able to or we're already out there in terms of both modular solutions from the different areas like billing, analytics, mobility, and we also have a platform offering that we're working together with some partners.
Great, so that's a very diverse range of end user applications. Thank you. Another question's come in. What percentage of CSPs and I think you referred to this in your presentation, do you see providing M2M platforms for their customers?
Yeah, so there, once again, I refer back to the Informa study in that case, where we had roughly 10%, I believe, of the participants, the 250 participants that were looking to provide the total platform, including analytics, adding value to their offering. So that's already a good first start, and we're working with some of these CSPs already.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. So there are no more questions coming in on the Q&A session. So I suggest that we thank everybody for attending. And thank Christina. It's been very informative. We would love to follow up with any of you after the webinar if you're interested in learning more about SAP solutions for end-to-end monetization. And we'll be happy to take any further questions that come in online. So thank you, everybody, for your attention. Have a great day.